What's up, gang? Today, before I get into the trade recap, I wanted to say a couple things that I have been thinking about a lot today. And this is sort of a reflection from my trading the past couple of weeks. And one thing that has been on my mind a lot is that nothing changes if nothing changes. And for so long, I was married to my strategy. I was married to ticking boxes in the charts, and I was convinced that if I just stuck to that for however long, eventually it would play out in my favor. Now, market conditions are hard at the moment, they're different. And I changed little things about my strategy to try and account for these new market conditions. And last night's trade was a reflection of exactly that. I made a video 2 days ago about things that I have been doing and changes I've been trying to make. Last night, every single one of those things that I changed resulted in a winning trade. And that sort of brings me to the second point. So the first point is nothing changes if nothing changes. And if you're struggling at the moment, maybe don't change it straight away, but have a look at what you're doing. And if it's the same things going wrong every day, make a change. The second thing that I want to talk about is a winning trade is not a result of a good trading day. It is the result of a good trading month. And not just a good trading month, but all of the work that goes in behind the charts. I put in so much work last month to identify my weaknesses in the charts. And then last night, taking a really good winning trade, and it was by no means perfect. I had two things that I messed up last night, but because I have nailed my daily bias, because I have nailed my sort of analysis coming into the trade, I was able to walk away with a winning trade rather than losing money. And that is one thing that I just could not get out of or get away from last month. So those are two things that I sort of want to come in and say before I get into the trade recap. But anyways, enjoy, and I'll run you through the winning trade that I took last night. All right, let's jump into it. For anyone wondering if I ended up managing to get the noodles out the packet, yes, I did. It took me a while. I swear I spent that whole last clip trying to get the noodles out the packet. But anyways, this is the trade I took, man. Very freaking happy with it. Although it's not the best risk to reward. I don't know why my little... There you go. I don't know... Yeah, so... Sorry, I'll edit that out. Coming into the day, what was I looking at? Let me chuck on replay trading real quick so we can get a gist of it. We're sitting here, and all I see realistically is we have a run of really low resistance liquidity here. I obviously want to see that get taken out. The same thing over here on NQ. Today, this is my very, very easy draw on liquidity. And for me to target that, and just from knowledge of what's been happening over the past sort of month, I was expecting us to just rip up and take out 1, 2, and 3 straight on market open. And when we got a bearish flush on market open, I was stoked. This is one of the first days where I have set sort of a draw on liquidity that I would like to see get taken for the day, and then markets move the opposite way. Usually it has been happening where I set the draw on liquidity and I'm like, okay, ideally we see some manipulation so that I can target this, and then it'll take it straight away before macro opens. However, today, what we see is market open, we just dump, and I was stoked on this candlestick. For me, what do I need to see to confirm or give me an indication that we are going to go long? Because I don't want to marry my bias, even though I have that bullish bias in place. I want to see some sort of confirmation or indication that that is going to be the play before I even look into taking a trade. For me, we create a bullish S&T with London lows. Here on ES we took them. Over here on NQ we failed to take them. That's my opening confluence. Then over here on NQ we see this, 5-minute inverse fair value gap. Loves giving me a thumbs up on there. We see an inverse fair value gap here. That is my confirmation. Now, the only issue with this, and the reason I haven't placed a trade off this or started scaling in, is because it's before the macro open. I don't want to take a trade before the macro open. And over here on ES, we have failed to really get a movement up. Now, if I was looking at this and just trying to play order flow, I might think that, hey, we're sitting in this bearish fair value gap. We might come lower and continue this bearish movement. With my bias in place and with that confirmation on NQ, I'm happy to look for a long. So what was my first trade off of? All I wanted to see was some sort of confirmation that this long was going to play out on ES. And then I was happy to start scaling into a position. So here, we get a equilibrium retracement over here on ES. We create a 1 minute bullish SMT, and this is followed by, I believe, a big extension with a change in the state. Yeah. So this was my first entry, and this was the 11:49 candlestick closure. So macro literally opened as I pressed the button to buy into this trade. I kept my stops low, and I only bought in here with 3 contracts with the idea that I want to see more confirmation before I put all of my risk on the table. But I've seen this 15-minute candlestick close here. And if you look at this, this is such a weak bearish candlestick, and I already have a bias in place, a strong bias. I was happy that this was pretty much a confirmation in itself, and I realistically just wanted to get some sort of risk on the board. So that was what this first entry was I was just getting some numbers on the board so that if we were to just rip from here, like obviously it's a valid entry. We see like a 1 minute SMT, 1 minute change in the state of delivery. That is a model in itself. However, I don't want to put full risk on. So I kept stops all the way down here, and this ended up playing out in my favor majorly. I also was on the 3-minute time frame. I was looking for reason to scale in on the 3-minute time frame, and that to me was, where is it? Here. So I placed another 3 contracts on the change of the state of delivery on the 3-minute. And then I was still open to putting another 3 contracts on, but I need to see a sort of better model, because at the moment I've just been going off of low time frame confirmations. That bias was still in play, and the place where I put my final 3 contracts was off of this equilibrium retracement on the 5-minute time frame. And then we come across onto the 1 minute. We see this 1 minute SMT, and we see rejections. We didn't have any fair value gaps in here for me to go off an inversion. However, I saw this equilibrium retracement here, and then I entered another 3 contracts off of this candlestick closure here, just based on the breaker structure on the 1 minute time frame. So literally, my entries were spot on, my bias was spot on, and I held it really well through all of this chop. I stayed analytical with it, I guess, and I hit TP1 there. I was very lucky with this one, I cannot lie. Like, it came up here and created equal highs. So I had my stop. I always have my limit orders just underneath it. Literally hit it to the point, and then we reversed. But that was my winning trade. So after, obviously, I had 6 contracts on from about here. So I was heavy on the risk until after I'd seen this 5-minute retracement, and then I entered my next 3 contracts. I trailed my stops up to here, and so that was it was about a 1.5R. I took that as my TP1. This is the only mistake I made for the day, is that in my video I made the other day about the changes that I'm looking to make, I said that I'm trying to keep my profits conservative. Realistically, if I was trying to keep profits conservative here, I should have just taken a TP1 at this high because at that same candlestick we also took out high time frame draw on liquidity over here on NQ. That should have been enough. Realistically, I could have walked away with about $450 profit compared to the 200 that I took. But that was just a learning experience. And then this is also one of my first times scaling into positions like I did here. And I feel like I rushed it. I felt when I was doing it, it didn't feel quite right to me. I should, even though all of them weren't bad, I probably didn't go about it a bad way. Potentially it is just the fact that it's my first time really scaling into a position like that and something I need to get used to. But I just felt because I didn't have full risk on, I think is what it was. I didn't have full risk on, and so I was constantly itching to get back in, and I was looking for a retracement and another entry, and it just felt through this area here I was just like on edge. So that was hard, but it didn't impact my psychology. It didn't impact my risk management. I still held the whole way through there. And realistically, that's all that I can ask for at the end of the day, is that I stick to my rules. All of those entries were valid. I took one off a 3-minute retracement, 1-minute confirmation, took one off of just a 3-minute confirmation, and then I had a 5-minute retracement rejection for my last entry. So all in all, that is how I managed last night. Really happy with it. I was targeting TP1, TP2 at this high here, and then TP3 I wanted to see us come take these highs. Now we did end up taking these highs, but like I have been saying, a lot of the time we are not running all of our draws on liquidity on the market open. And it's so annoying at the moment, but it just is what we're working with. We are so often seeing this sort of thing where we retrace, and then the PM session is the session that actually delivers. And I mean, we saw it perfectly here. PM session delivers all the way up and takes out all my draws on liquidity. Nothing that I can complain about, because personally I just don't trade PM session. I mean, if I was to, I'm lucky I took profit there and got stopped out at break even. Otherwise I would have had to stay up till 3 a.m. to see my final TP get hit. But all in all, man, super happy with that trading day. As I said, been putting a lot of work in this past month, and I feel like this is a reflection. This trade feels like a bit of a reflection, because I was using order flow to enter trades. Had I been using order flow to enter a trade today, I would have seen us break structure on this down movement here. I would have seen a retracement and then a rejection. And I know for a fact that I would have found a trade somewhere in here going shorts. However, with the new ways that I'm looking at the markets and the new sort of demeanor that I'm coming into the charts with, I'm able to reassess. And to be honest, man, seeing result like that, I'm just super stoked, and it really does feel like those hard yards are paying off, which it always does, man. But that's the toughest part of trading, is you don't know when it's going to pay off. One day it'll just click in the charts, and all of a sudden you're passing fundeds, and all of a sudden you're making really good money. And I don't know if I'm at that point yet. I'm currently up. I actually don't know what I'm up on my funded now. I think on my funded, I must be up like, where are we? I think I'd be up like 300 on it. Yeah, so I'm up 300 on my funded right now. I'm stoked with that, man. Like, I'm really, really freaking happy with that. And yeah, so it just sucks that I only closed for 4 profits, 4 contracts up here. But that is just one of those things, is what it is. Anyways, that is how I want to trade last night. Let me know how you guys did in the charts. I'll chuck my socials down the bottom if you want to join the Discord. If you want to follow my other social channels, you're welcome to like and subscribe. I'm going to be posting these daily market recaps, trade recaps, and then the odd little bit of waffle, just documenting my journey to becoming a profitable trader. Thank you boys for tuning in. That is Monday's trade recap out.